Hello. We're going to be talking about NFL Week 15 today. We're going to recap NFL Week 14 first. I got about 9 right. I got about 5 wrong. That brings my overall season total of predicting games 126 to 82. Yeah, it's not great, but it's pretty good, pretty solid, I think. Especially with how weird of a season this has been. I'm gonna move on to week 15. Let's go ahead and get started with this. If you'll notice, I'm not in my normal setup. I am at my friend's place, and I'm recording content right now. Because I gotta pick the games before the games start. There might be some games suspended or rescheduled. But at the current moment, I'm just gonna predict the games, as they are. But there's a good many players that are supposed to be out, and that is going to be taken into my account with my decision-making process. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. We got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, its logic says no team's gonna get swept. No team is gonna sweep the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what logic says. But I think the Chargers have a very realistic shot at doing it. So I'm picking the Chargers, and especially because they're at home. I'm picking the Chargers. They don't seem to have that many issues, and they seem to play good football typically. They might mess up sometimes, but they play competitive football, and I feel like Justin Herbert is the answer to beat Patrick Mahomes. But I just really like Justin Herbert. That's why. Moving on to the next game is the Las Vegas Raiders. At the Cleveland Browns. Now the Cleveland Browns have been ransacked with COVID. They've been decimated. I found a little website that will give me the list of all the players that are out with COVID or have been out with COVID at any point, and it'll tell you the date that they have received that they tested positive. And when you go through that list, you see a lot of teams oh wow, some teams have had a decent amount of COVID throughout the year, and then and you can see the time frame, when it happened, it's kind of spread out. Most teams are spread out, not really that bad. Then you get to the Browns, and you look at the Browns, and you see the list is 3 times longer than anyone else on the entire league, and a good third of that, maybe even half of that list, is from this week. So they're they're beaten up. I don't think they can win this game. That being said, the Raiders are not that good of a team right now. They're not playing that consistent, but they are playing they're playing competitive football. So that's why I'm picking the Raiders. Darren Waller is still out, but I still think that Derek Carr with Bryan Edwards and Hunter Renfrow, most notably Hunter Renfrow, should be able to win the game. So I'm picking the Raiders. It'll basically have to be Nick Chubb winning that entire game himself, which could happen. But it's a team game, so I'm picking the team that has the more players readily available at the current moment. So I'm picking the Raiders. The next game is the New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like this game is pretty easy to predict. No one wants to play the Colts right now. They're doing the best at game management, not letting not letting the game get away from them, having control over the game. They're real good at that. Carson Wentz also messes up sometimes. Jonathan Taylor is phenomenal. Their whole running game is phenomenal. Their O-line's great, and their defense is really good. But the team that I think could beat them is the Patriots, because they have, in my opinion, the best defense, or top 3 defense. Especially passing wise, they're gonna make Carson Wentz make mistakes, because they're not gonna be able to just gash. If the Colts can gash the Patriots down their throat with the run, then the Colts will win. But I don't ever expect the Patriots to be gashed for the run that well. You know what I mean? Like, it's the Patriots. Like, I know they're mostly a pass defensive team. They're phenomenal pass defense, but it's Bill Belichick. He knows how to stop the run. He knows how to scheme to stop the run. I might try to angle this a little bit higher. Hold on, see if I can. Yeah, that's a bit better. Oh, there it goes. I don't have my normal stand with me. Or honestly, my microphone. So if the sound quality is a bit worse, sorry. But we're getting through it. We're powering through it together. So I'm picking the Patriots in that one. And the next game is the Carolina Panthers at the Buffalo Bills. Carolina's not that good of a team right now. Super inconsistent they are. That being said, they're playing the other super inconsistent team in the league, which is the Buffalo Bills. But the Buffalo Bills are on the hot seat in terms of missing the playoffs. They could. They're probably not going to win the division anymore. So they have to get a wild card spot. And I think they're currently like the 7th seed or the 6th seed, which is not where you want to be, you know? So they should get their act together and realize, all right, this is a game we have to win. Let's win it. And they're better than the Panthers, so I'm picking the Bills. It should be a get-right game. Should be. Depends what team shows up with the Bills this week. Then we got the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Picking Miami. For fairly obvious reasons. They're a bit more messed up in terms of with the COVID, because Jalen Waddle, their best offensive player, in my opinion, he's out. But they're still a better team than the Jets are, so... I mean, like, I'm not saying the Jets can't win, because of course they can win. But even a depleted Miami team is still seems to be miles more competitive than what the New York Jets are. So that being said, I'm going to pick Miami, and I'm picking Buffalo, and I'm picking New England, and I'm picking the Raiders, and I'm picking the Chargers. So far, those are my picks, and then we're getting on to the next game, which is the very playoff very large playoff implications game. I said that in like the worst way possible, but here we are. Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm picking the Philadelphia Eagles, even if Gardner Minshew's starting. I think they're going to be able to run the ball better than the Washington football team will. Don't know if Terry McLaurin, the best football team receiver, is going to be playing. Philadelphia just has momentum, and the football team doesn't seem to have that. But that being said, with the way this season goes, it seems to be the team that has the more momentum loses. So if that carries true, then the football team's going to win. My gut says Philly, so I'm staying with Philly. What the hell was I doing with that? That's preposterous. I don't know what the heck came over me just now when I wrote that. Okay, not just now, but whenever I wrote it. So whenever I was making these picks, the next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Detroit Lions, and for some reason I had written Detroit next to it, as if I expect them to win. No. I don't care how bad the Cardinals look. I don't care how bad the other team looks. Given I almost picked them to beat Minnesota a few weeks ago, and I would have been real smart about it. But I'm still not going to do it. Definitely not going to do it against arguably one of the best teams in the league. Even if they are missing a couple people. I think they're missing their center. It's Arizona. Picking Arizona. I don't know what compelled me to write Detroit then. But yeah, definitely Arizona. The next game is the... Can you hear that? The next game is the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants should just call it quits for the year. You know what I mean? Just do one of these where they just set everything down and just... You know what I mean? Do one of these. Swipe their hand with it. done. Pick it up later tomorrow. So they should do with the season, but they can't. So they have to play games, which means they're going to lose to Dallas. And Dallas, they need to win a few more games to solidify their place in the hierarchy of the NFC. And they're trying to vie to get a higher spot than the 4th seed. Picking Dallas. The next game is the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is a game that I was back and forth on for a minute, because the thing with Pittsburgh is they play up to their opponents. And the thing with Tennessee is you don't know what team's going to show up. Tennessee plays real hard, they're probably going to win. If Tennessee plays like they're playing Pittsburgh, then they probably aren't going to win, because Pittsburgh plays up to their opponents, but they also play severely down to their opponents, which is why they tied to the Lions and lost to the team that lost to the Lions. Also, I feel like Pittsburgh needs like a little get-right game, because they're still technically in the playoffs, and it's Mike Tomlin's team. Mike Tomlin doesn't bow out, bow over. So I feel like they're going to be kind of a little more on edge to get the win than Tennessee is, because Tennessee's not necessarily in the driving seat, because Indianapolis is a little bit behind them, not far behind in terms of their division. But Pittsburgh's hopes of getting into the playoffs are a lot more unlikely, so they have to fight a little harder, which I think is what's going to happen. So I'm picking Pittsburgh, but Jeffrey Simmons could just single-handedly just win that game for them. Who knows? Next game is the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I admit, I had Houston winning this game, but now that Urban Meyer's gone, Urban Meyer's been fired from Jacksonville. Finally, now that he's gone, I'm picking Jacksonville. They're going to be, this is their Super Bowl. They probably hated it. It's very well known that some players did, but almost all of them probably hated Urban Meyer. So the fact that he's gone is going to be like one of those things where they have to win to prove to, like, not just to themselves but to everyone that, like, it was Urban Meyer. It was Urban Meyer, the reason that they sucked, which probably isn't true, but like it's good reason. Urban Meyer wasn't why they sucked, but Urban Meyer sucked, and he made them suck worse. Jags already sucked, but Urban made it worse. I'm picking Jacksonville for the win. They're also at home, so it makes sense. I can't remember the interim head coach's name, but he just seems so happy. Like, they just seem so happy to be without Urban. I feel like this is going to be their Super Bowl, beating the 2-win, I think it is, Houston Texans. That's going to be their Super Bowl. Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win. Then next we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are a hot and cold team as well, but they're a mostly defensive-driven team. And Cincinnati is the opposite. They're mostly an offensive team. I feel like the way this game is going to go is Denver's going to be in control of it for like the first half, and then Cincinnati is going to make some halftime adjustments, and they're going to get looks they need from their receivers. It could also be that Cincinnati just starts off red hot and just runs away from the Broncos, because honestly the Broncos shouldn't be able to keep up. Sure, they have great receivers, and sure they have a great tight end. They don't have a quarterback. I don't care about Teddy Bridgewater. He's Drew Brees without the accuracy. He's old Drew Brees without the accuracy. Like, he doesn't have a cannon. If he uses it, he has to step all the way into it, which, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of quarterbacks do. So I'm not, like, necessarily fronting on his arm strength, but there isn't anything he brings to the table that is better than anybody else. He's not that accurate. He's not that deep. Not that big of a cannon. He's not that good at reading a defense. He's not that good at giving effort. He's not a good quarterback. He's a bridge quarterback, and he was born for it. He was born to be the Bridgewater quarterback. Which really sucks, because I think he's an alright guy. But he's not a good football player, in my opinion. which is why I'm picking Cincinnati, because they have a better quarterback. And I just think that they have more potential in terms of their offense, because I feel like the defense it's gonna be a fairly low scoring game, but there's gonna be enough big plays that just make the offense kind of like worthwhile in terms of having. Because Denver's defense is better than Cincinnati's, but Cincinnati's defense isn't necessarily a slouch, but they're not necessarily great. But Cincinnati's offense is kind of great sometimes. So I feel like it could be great enough times to where it will overshadow the other one, the Denver secondary, at least like a couple times. Because I don't really see Teddy Bridgewater scoring that many times against Cincinnati. So I'm picking the Bengals. Next game. The next game is the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this one has huge playoff implications. Huge. Atlanta is 6-7. I think they're 6-7, and I think San Francisco is 7-6. So, and I'm pretty sure San Francisco is at the 6th seed. I'm fairly certain. I'm fairly certain the Washington football team is at the 7th seed. Atlanta lost to Philadelphia and Washington, the two teams that are also 6-7, trying to get into the playoffs. They didn't play the Vikings, who are also 6-7. Atlanta now plays the San Francisco 49ers, who are at 7-7. Oh, sorry, they're about to be 7-7, 7-6. If they beat them, then Atlanta will basically be tied with them. It'll bring them down to the 6th seed, essentially. What I think is I'm not 100% sure on the math of how the playoff system works. But what would happen is if Atlanta won, they would basically take the 6th seed currently. I think, because they would have the tiebreaker over this team, and they would have the same record as this team. However, if the football team or Philadelphia win, which one of them has to win, I don't know if they would get in above Atlanta based on the San Francisco thing. If they play, I'm not quite sure, but I know that this game, if Atlanta loses, they're behind the 8 ball to get into the playoffs. If they win this game, they're in the driver's seat to get to the playoffs. And San Francisco, the same thing. If they lose, not quite the same thing. If they lose, they just have to win a couple more games and they're in. If they win, they just have to win like one more game and they're in, basically. Maybe 2. But like, whoever wins this should technically be in the driver's seat they need to be. Now, going into the matchup of the games, Elijah Mitchell, the running back for the San Francisco 49ers, the starting guy, is out. He's officially listed as out. Excuse me. San Fran's defense hasn't looked great. They've looked good, but the secondary looks kind of really bad. Atlanta, with their mediocre passing game right now, should be able to beat them. The way I look at it, Fred Warner can only cover Kyle Pitts or Cordero Patterson, given that's our 2 biggest players, but he can only cover one of them at a time. So basically, whoever Fred Warner doesn't cover, the other one should be open. Atlanta should be able to take advantage of their bad secondary, of their bad pass coverage. But Atlanta could also just, not really play that well, which happens sometimes. I think, and also Atlanta's played better on the road, and San Francisco's also played better on the road. But bad news for San Fran is it's at San Fran at home. So I'm picking Atlanta because I thought it was gonna be a real close game. Then I realized it was an away game for the Falcons. And the Falcons are much better on away games, especially this year. Recently, they've been better in the past few years, but especially this year. I'm picking Atlanta. Moving on to the next game is the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens. I think this one's pretty easy to predict, unless Lamar Jackson plays, which I really don't think he should. It's Green Bay all the way. unless Aaron Rodgers doesn't play too. But like it's Green Bay all the way. Even if both quarterbacks don't play, I'm picking Green Bay. But I'm assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to start and Lamar Jackson is not, and that's all the reason for me to pick Green Bay. Because Green Bay has got a good defense, and a very good defense, and the Ravens have an elite defense. The Ravens have a good offense, and the Packers have sometimes an elite offense. I am leaning the Packers. The next game is the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I've made a few jokes involving never bet against Tom Brady, and it reigns true. It's never bet against Tom Brady, never bet against Tom Brady, never bet against Bill Belichick. Fairly simple, pretty easy. Picking Tom Brady again, picking the Buccaneers. They're also the better team than the Saints are. Taysom Hill did his best. Jameis Winston impression from the national championship game when he was in college, and just straight up dropping the ball on a throw, and just straight up just going to throw it, and just boom, it's not what you need from a quarterback. I also love that he's tied to that team for so much longer now. He's going to be there whether he's good or not. It's so good. I don't like the Saints. I don't like their organization. I don't like what they stand for. I don't like what they've done. They are not wholesome. They are not a wholesome team. Nope. Not one bit. Not one bit. So I'm rooting for the Buccaneers to beat them. I'm also picking the Buccaneers to beat them. Saints defense is very good. The receiving core is meh. Their running back is obviously Alvin Kamara. That's phenomenal. It's the only reason that they have a chance to win this game, in my opinion. Alvin Kamara goes heck off. They'll probably win. If they don't, Tom Brady wins. Fairly easy. Unless Tom Brady has another off game, which shouldn't happen against. I guess the Saints defense, like I said, is good, but not that good. So I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now we're on to the last two games of the week, and we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Now, Chicago almost lost to Detroit on Thanksgiving. Almost. Minnesota did lose to Detroit. Given we shouldn't use Detroit as the meter for how good teams are, because any given week, and it's also divisional games. Both are in the same division. Personally, I feel like Minnesota's given up. I feel like whenever his name was, might have been Cleveland, but I don't think it was. Whenever somebody caught the winning touchdown pass from Jared Goff in the corner of the end zone, on the front line of the end zone against the Vikings, it was, if you look around at the players, it was like watching a balloon deflate. But it was like a balloon that was already deflated, somehow deflating more. Because it's like they knew they were going to lose that game. And it's like since they lost that game, I feel like they feel like, I know I'm reaching a bit, I'm assuming, but I feel like they kind of gave up. Like, wow, we lost to Detroit. We can't beat any of the playoff teams. That's what I'd be thinking if I was like a Viking. We just lost to the worst team in the league. Given it's any given Sunday, But man, that's hard to come back from. So I'm picking Chicago. I think Chicago is gonna knock them down to 6-8, and also Chicago is technically still on the wild card push as well. So I feel like they're gonna be trying a little bit harder than the deflated Vikings, who also are in the playoff hunt. But that's just me speculating on their morale, which honestly probably is a bit much for me because this season's kind of been ridiculous in terms of how morale and how momentum has worked. So everything I'm saying is probably going to be counterintuitive. But who knows? This week last game of the week, we've got the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams beat the Cardinals last week. The Rams are still the 5th seed. The Seattle Seahawks are, I don't know if they're out of the playoff hunt technically, but they might as well be. They're starting to look forward to their offseason, and by forward I mean scared, because they might lose Russell and they might fire Pete. So one of the two, probably not both, but one of the two. If Seattle really looks that bad, I would trade away Russell Wilson. Get something good for him. Like, get you two, maybe two first-round picks. Build a team that way if you really still believe in Pete Carroll for some reason. But if you still believe in Russ, which I personally would, I'd personally pick Russ over Pete Carroll. I'd say, all right, we're going to get you a new head coach. We're going to reload this team in new ways. We're not going to do the stereotypical method we always do, which is miss first-round picks and then draft everywhere else pretty okay. The Seahawk way. I'm picking the Rams. They're a better team. Even if they're missing a bunch of people, I don't care. They're a better team. They have more to fight for. Von Miller's out. I know that name. There's a bunch of other ones that are smaller, not as impactful names, but like, regardless, even if Jared Goff is quarterbacking for the Rams, I'm picking the Rams this game. So thank you for tuning in to my analysis and my picks. I'm going to go back through and give you a rundown on what teams I picked for which games. That's all it's going to be. Yeah, I hope you like this little impromptu setup I got going on here. I hope it's still competent enough for you to enjoy. Let's go back through all the game picks we got. You probably can't see it that well. This will work. Screw it. This will work. We got the Los Angeles Chargers winning at the Kansas City Chiefs. We got the Las Vegas Raiders winning at the Cleveland Browns. We have the New England Patriots winning at Indianapolis. We have the Carolina Panthers losing at Buffalo. We have the New York Jets losing at Miami. We have the Washington football team losing at Philadelphia. We have the Arizona Cardinals winning in Detroit. We have the Dallas Cowboys winning at the New York Giants Stadium. We have the Tennessee Titans winning. Sorry, we have the Tennessee Titans losing at Pittsburgh to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have the Houston Texans losing at Jacksonville to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We have the Cincinnati Bengals winning on the road at the Denver Broncos. We have the Atlanta Falcons winning on the road at the San Francisco 49ers. We have the Green Bay Packers winning on the road at the Baltimore Ravens. We have the New Orleans Saints losing on the road to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have the Minnesota Vikings losing on the road to the Chicago Bears. And we have the Los Angeles Rams winning at home against the Seattle Seahawks. So just one more time, I'm going to go back through all the teams that I have picked to win. Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, Bills, Dolphins, Eagles, Cardinals, Cowboys, Steelers, Jaguars, Bengals, Falcons, Packers, Buccaneers, Bears, Rams. So, I hope I'm right with those. I hope you are right as well. I hope you enjoyed this. It's gonna be a weird week for football. If there's suspensions, which there probably will be based on how many players can actually play. Not suspensions, but like the game suspended. We might get pretty many days of football. Thank you for watching. Sweet dreams. Happy football.